Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
It's a tight budget year, and tonight we're continuing our coverage of Governor Newsom's cuts to education. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and those cuts in the revised budget proposal will impact California's youngest and most vulnerable children. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne explains what that means for San Diego.
San Diego Unified was ahead of the game in 2021 when the governor announced the rollout of universal transitional kindergarten. State funding was available for districts to expand the program.
This year, we have provided free full-day transitional kindergarten for 4-year-olds at nearly all of our elementary schools all across the district, except I think 2. And no one else is doing that. There's still many districts that are only providing TK for a portion of their 4-year-olds.
Shayna Hazen is president of the San Diego Unified School Board. The district expects TK enrollment to triple next year from when it first started in 2021. But now the state budget cuts $550 million meant to help school districts upgrade their facilities for TK classrooms.
Because of the tight budget year and because of the state deficit and the significant deficit we're facing in San Diego Unified, we aren't going to be able to open up as many new TK classrooms as we were hoping next year, but we will still be providing free full-day TK for 4-year-olds at all of our schools.
Hazen says San Diego Unified will use its general fund to support the facilities 4-year-olds need, like bathrooms inside their classrooms. But not all school districts are able to do that.
Those grant funds typically go to districts with a higher proportion of low-income students, a higher proportion of students receiving free and reduced priced meals. So we don't typically have access to those funds. But for the districts who don't have bond funds and don't have dollars available to build out those classrooms, this is a hit for them.
The governor's revision also cuts into the Emergency Child Care Bridge program for foster children. When an emergency foster placement is made, the new caregiver often needs access to child care right away. The Bridge program supports and funds the child care for the foster families.
The projection was going to be 40% of the foster care Bridge program, so almost 50%. So it's kind of a huge cut.
Daryl Chidas is a part of the San Diego YMCA's foster care Bridge program.
And so our voucher side will be cut if it goes through, and that means less money to bring more families on. So if there's less money, families may be unlikely to take these kids on because they know there's childcare is going to be paid for and it's going to come out of their own pocket, which is kind of tough, especially in how childcare is kind of a little bit expensive nowadays.
He says the cut could deepen the trauma of foster children already in a vulnerable place. Details on the finalized budget are expected in late June. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
A new aid program announced today looks to help struggling families feed their children during summer break. Sunbucks offers $120 per eligible child for families to use toward groceries. Families currently on or who sign up now with CalFresh will automatically be enrolled in the program. The San Diego Hunger Coalition says the program will help feed students who lose access to free or reduced price school meals during summer break.
It is really important for me because especially right now with the prices going up and everything and low pay and hardly any jobs or stuff, or with me that my kids have autism, so I have to be available for them. So this is a big help to have available for us, like they having their snacks and things they need at home.
Families are encouraged to enroll with CalFresh in the Sunbucks program as soon as possible to receive benefits this summer. A union representing more than 48,000 University of California workers is headed to the picket line. On Monday, UAW 4811 is calling for a stand-up strike starting at UC Santa Cruz. All union academic workers on the campus are expected to stop all teaching and wind down research on that day. The union says the University of California threatened the health and safety of its members and the rest of the academic community by calling the police amid on-campus protests over the war in Gaza. Two Southwestern College professors are suing the school for retaliation after reporting racial discrimination. The suit echoes a longer history. In 2018, a University of Southern California assessment found a, quote, climate of anti-Blackness on campus. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson visited Southwestern to see what's changed since.
Current President Mark Sanchez inherited Southwestern's racial challenges in 2020. Transfer rates for Black male students to four-year colleges were in the single digits, he says.
I would venture to say that was probably one of the lowest transfer rates in the state at a California community college, so I knew the situation was urgent.
He says a lot of students rely on public transit, which makes getting to even the nearby four-year colleges difficult. So he worked on convincing more programs to offer their classes on Southwestern's campus.
Arizona State will start in August of this year. UCSD is looking to bring a physician assistant and a Bachelor of Nursing degree here in the fall semester.
After the 2018 report came out, Southwestern created an equity officer position and hired Janelle Williams-Melendrez. She asked a key question.
Who is being invited to interviews, who is hired as a result. We see much more diversity in those pools now.
Though overall diversity is increasing, the number of African American faculty and administrators is trending down. They won't have this year's final numbers until August, but Sanchez says
we're already starting to see an uptick in Black student enrollment.
They offer a learning community geared toward African American students called Umoja. I sat down with 5 members to see what the college is like for current students.
For me, I think
Victoria, you have to speak up.
Victoria Eichhoff's voice is almost drowned out by the loud hum of the air conditioner in Umoja's community room.
The most amazing part about being here on campus as a Black student is the resources.
Resources like tours of historically Black colleges, internships, and scholarships. But, she says,
it's kind of like a double-edged sword because so many people don't know about it.
Learning communities like Umoja have a limited number of spots. She wants to join student leadership to help all Black students benefit from the community Umoja offers, which is much needed, says Stanley Mitchum.
You also have to take into consideration as well, like 3-4% of us on campus, so not even that. Right. You just heard it here, not even that.
It's 4%.
It's not just like, oh, I just want it to be all Black, but it is a comforting feeling, like when you see, like Black people have this thing, like, when we see you walking, well, for me, for sure, I'm gonna holler at you because I don't see a lot of us walking around like that.
They say they have Black leaders to look to on campus, and they have each other. But when they go to class, they're often the only Black student in the room. There's this pressure to represent all Black people well.
You know, my teacher was talking about like environmental racism and stuff like that, and like he kept like asking me for my input, but shoot, I didn't even know about that. I didn't even know what environmental even was. So it's like, it's kind of like, you know, I feel like I'm letting myself down, and not only myself, I'm feeling like I'm letting like down like all the people, like, all the Black people on campus, because I feel like since there's not a lot of us here, like all of us have like a certain job that we have to like, I guess that we have to present ourselves in a certain way so we can like uphold our like reputation and stuff like that.
We really get held at a high standard, like to the point to where we can't breathe.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody, the campus, the hood is like banking on us to make it so that we can open that door. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie, I am very disciplined, but it is stressful.
I feel like that not only it's stressful for us like physically, it's also stressful for us mentally, because we also feel like that, oh, I gotta do this, oh, I gotta do this, oh, I gotta walk straight, I gotta keep my back up, I gotta clap my hands a certain way, I gotta do this, I gotta do that.
Statistically, physically, even mentally, you have to beat the system, because
people are gonna look at us and racially profile us and not even say anything.
Like, I'm constantly telling myself, like, I am the best. Like, I will graduate. I will be somebody who is a leader.
The students say they hadn't heard about the recent lawsuit or the 2018 report, but they believe the claims. They know friends who've had bad experiences as Black students, and ICOF's heard there's history from the longtime Black staff.
That's how they paved the way for us, because they weren't, supported when they originally wanted to start a program like Umoja. It's at a point where we've done a lot of fighting and a lot of vocalizing.
The issues of Black people are already out there, she says. Now, she says it's up to others to respond or be complacent with the system. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
California is facing a budget deficit of more than $27 billion. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says that's impacting funding for public transit in San Diego.
Last year, state lawmakers passed SB 125, pledging $4 billion to help public transit agencies continue their post-pandemic recovery. MTS had planned to spend its share on increased bus and trolley frequencies and a new overnight bus service to the Mexican border. But the transit funding has been frozen amid state budget deliberations. At an MTS board meeting Thursday, San Diego City Council President Sean Ela Rivera said it's disappointing.
These were changes that folks were excited about and looking forward to because of the impact it will have on riders' lives. But we didn't have control over the SB 125 funding, and so we need to pivot.
MTS still has its own structural deficit and dwindling reserves. El Cajon City Council member Steve Goebel said Thursday the state should do more to support transit agencies.
The 5-year look on this thing is the big elephant in the room because we can either raise fares, cut services, or find new funding. Orange County, Los Angeles, BART, Sacramento, everybody's in the same situation, not just us.
The governor and state lawmakers have until June 15th to adopt a budget. In the meantime, MTS is preparing to adjust its budget to avoid cutting services. San Diego County voters could come to the rescue in November, when a countywide sales tax measure will appear on the ballot. 64% of that measure's revenue would go to public transit, representing the largest transit investment in the county's history. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The unofficial start to summer is right around the corner, as Ivan Rodriguez reports. Early forecasts are pointing to a busy travel season.
Nearly 44 million people will travel 50 miles or more from home this Memorial Day weekend. 3.5 million of them are expected to travel by air, a 9% increase compared to 2019, according to AAA.
In 2005, that was the busiest Memorial Day weekend we've seen in 25 years. That was 4 years after 9/11 and right before the recession. So that year was particularly busy for travel. What we're seeing now is in 2024, 4 years after the pandemic, the travel industry has just come back in a big way.
Aixa Diaz with AAA says Memorial Day travel paints a picture of what we can expect for summer travel. Based on their projections, the season is expected to be sizzling hot. The Transportation Security Administration, for its part, also expects setting new records this summer. The agency predicts screening more than 3 million passengers on same peak days this upcoming season.
Airports are going to be packed. If you've flown recently, you know that most flights these days don't have many empty seats left. People are flying in big numbers.
Diaz says road trips are also expected to set a new record, with about 38 million people traveling by car, with gas prices similar to last year.
Gas prices have been ticking down in recent days, and they've really remained steady over the past month or so. So we haven't seen any spikes in gas prices.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
The Port of San Diego is fighting an invasive seaweed in the San Diego Bay. KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us how it's being contained and why it's important to eradicate it.
This may look like normal seaweed, but it's actually a highly invasive algae called Caulerpa prolifera.
It will come in and take over all the native habitat if left unchecked. So we had to declare a local emergency. It's helping us find federal and state funding to attack this algae as soon as possible.
Eileen Maher is the Port of San Diego's Director of Environmental Conservation. She says the algae was first discovered last September in Antigua Village in the Coronado Cays.
During a routine dive survey for a dock replacement project.
The port says Caulerpa is a popular plant for saltwater aquariums. And it might have gotten into the bay because someone emptied their aquarium into a storm drain or gutter, leading it down to the ocean. It's illegal in California because it's invasive. Getting rid of the algae is a top priority since it could suffocate native eelgrass that provides food for juvenile fish, which could threaten local businesses.
San Diego is home to a rather large sport fishing fleet, and if the juvenile fish don't have a place to hide and grow up to be adults, where they spend their life stages out in the ocean, that could cause a big impact.
Dr. Robert Mooney is a principal marine scientist with Marine Taxonomic Services. He says the algae can spread from a 1-centimeter fragment.
This is something that creeps out like in a circular pattern, so every little growth tip was growing at about 3 millimeters per day. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up in a hurry and really starts to get exponential as these patches get larger.
Mooney says the algae could grow as much as 1 centimeter per day in the summer months. To get rid of the algae, teams of divers cover it with benthic barriers, which are basically sheets of tarp-like material.
And interwoven into that material, we have strips of rebar, which helps weight it down to the seafloor. They will frame that entire tarp complex with rebar that they stake to the bottom, so it creates a linear seal, along the edges of the barrier to prevent any water movement underneath those barriers.
The algae remains covered between 6 months to a year. Once the algae has died, the barriers are removed and the area will be monitored quarterly for the next 2 years. Although the algae is now contained and covered in the Coronado Cays, about 15 square meters of the algae has been found offshore of the Cays in the South San Diego Bay. That is set to be treated in the next couple of weeks. Melissa May, KPBS News.
A bit of Mexican history has made port in San Diego. KPBS video journalist Matthew Bowler shows us the naval ship that you can see for yourself this weekend.
Another overcast morning in San Diego Bay. One of the United States Navy's modern amphibious transport docks leaves the bay. But on its way out, the sleek vessel passes by a ship that seems to be in the wrong time. Sailors stand atop the rigging way up each mast. This is Mexico's only tall ship, the ARM Cuauhtemoc. The period-correct replica was built in 1982 and sails the world, helping to train Mexican Naval Academy cadets and sharing Mexican goodwill. Named for the last Aztec emperor, Cuauhtemoc, the ship and its crew of 261 made its first stop in San Diego while on a transcontinental training cruise. Captain Victor Molino Perez says his ship represents more than the Mexican Navy.
Un buque representativo no solo de nuestra institución, que es la Armada de México, sino de todo un pueblo mexicano.
Ensign Jericho Galanana says the message they carry is one of love.
We go all around the world. Our mission is to carry a message of peace and goodwill to all the ports that we dock.
The Mexican Consul General in San Diego, Alicia Kerber Palma, says the ship's mission is one in contrast to what is too often at the forefront of our turbulent world.
You can see many conflicts all around the world. Having this boat, giving the message of good faith, of peace, of collaboration is very important. And Mexico is a country that has always talked in favor of peace.
But this is more than a diplomatic mission for some of those dockside. It's a kind of homecoming.
Hace 20 años que no lo miro.
Silvestre Garcia hasn't seen his brother, Rafael, for more than 20 years.
Quiero abrazarlo. Mucho tiempo sin mirarlo. Mi corazón está palpitando.
After more than 20 years. Two old men embrace.
Sí, más de 20 años que no lo miro.
Brothers together again. attached for a few days to spite borders and countries and conflicts. Before the Cuauhtémoc hoists sail and makes way for her next port. Matthew Bowler, KPBS News.
Really cool story by Matt Bowler, and you can go on board the ship this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, free of charge.
As we look at the forecast here, we have slightly warmer weather building in on Saturday east of I-15, but still west of the mountains. So there's this area of the interior, lower elevations west of the mountains where we will be a bit warmer, noticeably warmer. Very little change in temperature for the coast and for the deserts, though, and we call it May Gray. We're very familiar with these low clouds in the morning this time of the year for the coastline. Then it gets brighter in the afternoon. We're going to go through that pattern here over the next 5, 6, 7 days here with very few deviations from that pattern of May Gray. So the low clouds return near the coast overnight tonight down to 60 degrees. And into tomorrow's forecast, you can see we begin to warm up a bit. Escondido 73, Ramona 75, El Cajon 75. So a little bit of a bump up there for some. Borrego Springs still steamy, 96 degrees. Mount Laguna, a little bit of relief in the high ground at 61 degrees. Heading ahead, looking ahead to Sunday, we're going to stay dry here, and there won't be a whole lot of change in day-to-day weather with this current pattern. A lot of clouds near the coastline, though. Brighter for the afternoons. There will be a little bit of a scattered shower action for some in the Sierra and off into the central Rockies, but limited moisture out there. And overall, we stay certainly on the dry side in Southern California. So here we go with the coastal forecast. Upper 60s, low clouds, then brighter. Clouds give way to sun. It's almost like we're using the thesaurus here to say a similar message each and every day with that pattern of May Gray. Low clouds in the morning, brighter in the afternoon for the coast. Inland areas, still some of that flavor, but we're going to be hedging brighter with more hours of sunshine here, fewer hours of those morning clouds, and we'll be bouncing up into the low 70s Saturday, Sunday, little cooler Monday, low to mid 70s Tuesday and Wednesday. Into the mountains we go, and here we find relief. In fact, you're going to notice a cool down Monday and Tuesday. We'll drop down into the mid 50s for highs, low 40s for lows there Monday night. Then a warming trend will take us into the upper 60s again on Wednesday pretty quickly. For the deserts, very warm, if not hot here. A little breezy in the afternoons, mid-90s Saturday and Sunday. We will cool down a bit for Monday. You'll notice a change Monday, more comfortable before temperatures begin to escalate once again. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
The NFL is moving more of its games to streaming platforms, and that means fans will have to pay a bit more to see certain teams. SDSU's Miro Kopik tells us how the costs are adding up in the Friday Business Report.
Sports is it right now. It is the driver for whether it's traditional broadcasting or streaming. The NFL has deals with Amazon Prime, with Peacock, which NBC owns, ESPN Plus, which Disney owns, and also ABC, and then now Netflix. Those three streaming services, if you just get the ad-supported version of that, would cost a NFL fan $33 just to see a handful of games on those services. If they want to see more games, the games that are on, let's say, linear TV, so the traditional networks, they could buy a subscription of YouTube TV for about $73, and that still doesn't give you all the games, and then you'd have to buy the NFL Sunday ticket to watch the rest of the games. So if an NFL fan may spend as much as $900 to see all the games in the official NFL season, not postseason or preseason necessarily.
Well, digital works will be on display this weekend in downtown San Diego, showing the world through teens' eyes. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer has a preview.
I just kind of lined up in the middle and made sure everything looked good, and I just thought it was very pretty shots.
Eyal Brower is a 17-year-old student at a high-tech high school in Point Loma. He loves to travel the world with his family and has been capturing it through his cameras for the last 5 years.
I'm honestly a big street photography guy. That's what I like. That's my little niche, I guess you can say. I'm basically looking for just nice lighting, nice angles, people even with unique features or just really cool expressions and stuff like that. Also, I like to shoot cars.
He's also on the youth council for the art and education group Outside the Lens and a panelist for the organization's upcoming exhibit for San Diego and Tijuana youth this Saturday called Voice Out.
I'm actually partly from Mexico. My mom's from Mexico City. So I thought it was really cool to bring two communities that, they obviously contribute with each other a lot too, But then I thought it was really cool to also like cross that kind of border and sense of that we can cross it through art and through photography.
Brower's artwork will be displayed alongside over 100 other pieces, says Outside the Lens Executive Director Sarah Beckman.
Voice Out was an invitation to invite local artists, young artists, to give us submissions of digital photography, illustration, mixed media. We really wanted to create a platform for youth to share their perspective and engage with the creative community.
The works express their unique point of view on the subject of place. Many evoke powerful emotions well beyond their years.
The students are actually sometimes evoking negative feelings or feelings of displacement or loss, and some are feeling experiences of joy and really celebratory moments in their life. So you're getting this whole breadth of emotion from all the different age groups.
The inaugural exhibition will take place at the organization's Wonder Lab in San Diego's East Village and feature art from local youth between the ages of 8 to 19 years old.
I wanted to show like an exhibit of multiple places, and I felt like this shop kind of corridor kind of showed like that there was a lot of different places with a lot of different stories.
Brower is hoping this is the first big break for a career in photography.
I wanted to show that it's like, as a young photographer, you can still get out there and show different things and show creativity. And honestly, I feel like photography is a big way to express yourself in a lot of different things in different ways. That's why I kind of seen all the artwork over here. So I'm honestly just really happy to be a part of it.
Voice Out is a platform for youth to be heard, seen, and creatively inspired. The event's free for the public, and the best entries will be featured at Logan Heights Bread and Salt Art Gallery this June in collaboration with the Getty. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.